Today, hopefully, we give you a better understanding of what hydrocarbons are and basically what they are on your emissions form. So, what we've got is a little mini 5 gas analyzer here set for hydrocarbons, and we've got an exhaust probe, which we're going to take a sample of the exhaust fumes coming from the gas cap area. Make sure you don't submerge this in the gas, but just take a sample from the exhaust cap area. You can see that the numbers are increasing up to almost 25,000 parts per million. So, something as simple as a gas cap that has been removed from the vehicle can cause excessive hydrocarbon levels out to the atmosphere. So, we want to make sure and put our cap on. We're going to take a sample from the exhaust with the engine running. We just slide the probe up into the exhaust pipe. And then, since we're in the shop, we're going to hook up the exhaust hose and turn on the exhaust system to make sure that we're not inhaling these fumes. This is an emission inspection form, and what it is a two-speed test, an idle test, and a 2,500 RPM test. Max values of hydrocarbon levels is 220 parts per million. This measured 96 and 91 parts per million. So this passed the last inspection. Right now, as the engine is running, we are getting in the 120 area with the vehicle running at idle. And then as we increase the RPMs, slightly drops down a little bit, almost to about 221. So well within expectable limits. We're going to create a misfire by pulling the spark plug wire out of the cylinder number 1. And then we're going to ground this wire using a jumper wire. And we're going to make sure and ground this wire so that it doesn't short out the ignition coil or ruin our ignition system. It's very important that we ground this wire out. So we're going to use this jumper wire attached to the little prong inside that attaches the spark plug. And then we're going to ground it to this clip on the engine block. So we want to make sure it's on a good solid ground. Next, we're going to start the vehicle, but before we do that, make sure the wire is out of the fan or any pulleys or belts. Once we start the vehicle, you can see that the vehicle is slightly shaking and our exhaust sample starts to go up. So as the engine is running, our 220 now surpasses up into the 1800, and eventually it's going to get into the 2000 range. So something as simple as a bad spark plug or a spark plug wire could cause high hydrocarbon levels. So we're trying to give you an example of what could happen on your emissions test with high hydrocarbon levels. After we turned off the vehicle and put the spark plug wire back in and took away the misfire, with the engine running, you can see that the hydrocarbon levels has dropped from 1,000 to 500 and eventually dropping the longer the engine's running. So eventually, if we continue burning all the hydrocarbons that's in the exhaust because of the misfire, it will eventually drop. That is, if we have good spark plugs and wires, down to the 220 or below zone, which is acceptable for emissions.